And this one is a standalone expansion to the previous game, Horizon Zero Dawn, but this one's going to be making quite a few changes and quite some significant improvements on the system as well. The way that this game works is that this one is going to be fully cooperative, whereas the previous one was semi-cooperative, and then this one is also going to be including quite a bit more narrative than the original game. But if you're not familiar with the franchise, this is based on the video game with the same name. And the whole premise here is that players are characters in the distant future in a post-apocalyptic world where the world is now overrun by these giant mechs. These different machines are all going to be modeled after different animals and deadly dinosaurs, and players are going to be trying to survive in this world while also building up their own tribe and fighting against the other tribes and factions that may not be as peaceful. Like I said, this does take place in the future, but a lot of the technology and knowledge has been lost over the rise and fall of society, so players are going to be making use of both primitive and advanced weaponry that they're able to find or build as they play the game. And like I said, this edition of the game is going to be providing a lot more narrative than its predecessor, and it's going to be offering you a bunch of branching paths and decisions to make along the way, as well as side quests that players can choose to explore. The cool thing about the narrative here is that Steamforged Games did work very closely with the original creators of the video game to make sure that the story that they're providing fits within the expectations of that world and follows a lot of those existing plot points while still bringing something new to the table. And a cool thing here is that not only is that narrative going to be provided through the scenario booklet, but the different maps and areas that players are going to be exploring or encountering different challenges are also going to be provided through various booklets. And you'll actually be able to combine these together in order to create unique maps. This is going to make the game a lot easier to get to the table because in order to set up that main board, all you're going to have to do is flip over to the appropriate pages rather than having to worry about finding all these different tiles and boards in order to piece it together. Players are going to be using their actions to move around and interact with different areas of the board, but of course you will be running into rival factions and those giant mechanical beasts. And even though those beasts aren't really animals, they still do act and behave like them, which means that stealth is a huge factor in this game, because you can actually sneak up on those creatures in order to hunt them for their parts, or even possibly sneak right by them. They're going to be a lot more predictable when they're not aware of your presence, but as soon as you do anything to make them aggressive, they're going to be changing up their behavior according to their specific activation card, with a bunch of different possibilities with the way that they'll interact and attack the players. Players will be using a combination of their cards, gear, and items in order to fight back, and of course once you defeat those giant mechs, you'll be able to harvest them for different parts that you can use for new weapons or upgrades to your existing gear. The game continues like this as they play through the various scenarios, trying to complete those individual goals in the overarching campaign, and if you do want to learn more about this one or check it out, I will have it linked in the description below.